And welcome to another episode of the SD Farrell Show. I'm Justin Thind. I'm here with my co-host Matt Sheehan. Matt, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday night, which will be a Thursday morning when people listen?
Absolutely sensational, rocking the Ford Field commemorative shirt from last year's Spartan versus Penn State game. Because Justin, sometimes in life, before you reach the moon, that you are set to grab by the horns, you got to remember the humble beginnings you've come from. And also, this is the most comfortable, best $5 shirt I've ever bought in my entire life. So, anyway,
Was
enough
it
about
really just
my.
$5?
Oh, dude, yeah, this guy had a table with a stack, head of an 8 feet tall, just full of these shirts. He
Really?
probably thought he's going to sell these at $40 a pop. And then after, whatever the score was, I think we lost by like 3 points. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. He wanted to just get rid of these things in the worst way possible. So $5 per shirt out of Ford Field. I'm sure it's licensed. I'm sure that both schools signed off on these
Of
logos and
course.
everything.
Of course.
Of course, the famous Penn State logo with the Nittany Lion on the helmet. I mean, everyone knows Penn State's helmet for that. But yeah, so anyway, enough about my wardrobe choices. JT, here's a question no one's ever asked you before. How you doing, man? You doing okay over there?
Good. Yeah, we're in the midst of the recruiting calendar really heating up. We
Yep.
have obviously the official visits that we're going to preview throughout this show, but more than that, it's the last week of May, which is always the Sound Mind, Sound Body mega camp that happens every single year. The first year after COVID, it was at Ferris State. The last 2 years, it's been at Wayne. It's back at Wayne State again this year, so I will be taking a vacation day from the corporate America responsibilities and heading over to Wayne tomorrow, bright and early at 8 o'clock. So
I'm
that's
out. Yeah,
unfortunate, but other than
that's
that, should be a fun day. I know all the coaches in the region for the most part come up. Actually, I've never seen an Ohio State coach there. I must add, but
interesting. Okay.
yeah, but the Michigan State, the Illinois staff, the Minnesota staff, usually the Penn State staff, and then all the directional schools, all the MAC schools like Toledo and Akron and Kent State, all them. And then you'll occasionally have like Arizona State, Tennessee, and some of those schools come. So it'll be very interesting to see if they get any new targets after the drills and the camp performances tomorrow. And it'll just be good to network and talk to the MSU coaches that'll be there.
Dumb question. Like what? So what does go on there? Like, is it just a bunch of like combine-esque drills, or what are these coaches there for, other than just shaking hands and glad handing a bunch of prospects?
Yeah, so there will be a lot of like positional drills. Like there will be like the offense linemen will get split up and they'll go to one spot and then they'll kind of do
Gotcha.
like one-on-one drills there. They'll do like mobility stuff, three cone stuff. It's not necessarily like all of the drills from the combine. Like nobody today, or they did have a testing segment actually today on Wednesday, but like the real event tomorrow, it's not going to just be like stuff straight out of the combine, but they'll do some stuff to showcase mobility and things like that. And then the best part is going to be the competitions where they line up a receiver in front of a corner and have quarterbacks throw to them. I know that's something that everyone is always looking forward to. But yeah, a lot of positional drills that you'll see basically at an MSU practice if you were to hop on a spring day or a fall day. So that's pretty much what it is. And then obviously coaches are networking with high school coaches and other people of influence that are there with their team's recruiting reporters and just out and about getting sunburned.
Hey, that I can do. I don't know if I can run a 4.40 or block a edge rusher coming off the 7 technique, but whatever. Hey, I could get sunburned with the best of them. This is a good way to start the conversation, though, JT, because, hey, this is official visit season also for Michigan State shortly after this upcoming weekend. We got, I think it's 8 or 9 kids
9 kids.
kicking off this weekend, 2 of which are rivals 4 stars. The rest, obviously, 3 stars, too. And, hey, that's how you build a foundation for a class with those kids, which might get into a little later here. But JT, you sent me an email that was longer than the New Testament with a bunch of notes on all these kids. Like this is detailed rundowns on all these kids. Now, what I can do is read it all verbatim, claim it as my own, and just say that's right, guys, I did all this work. Or we can go kid by kid here. You can give the skinny on these kids and let everyone know what to expect for the first weekend here. Hey,
Yeah.
JT, what do we always talk about, right? You either want to be the first visit or the last visit with these kids.
Yep.
Again, not a perfect formula. It's not an 1,000 batting average. But more times than not, it's that first one. You want to set the table, you want to set the tone, or you want to be the last one getting the last word in here. So important weekend for Michigan State. But
Yeah.
JT, I'll stop babbling. Take it away, my man.
Yeah, so there are 9 guys scheduled to come for this opening weekend, and overall for the entire official visit slate right now, we're looking at 42 guys that are booked for OVs. I'm sure a
Cool.
couple on the last weekend might cancel because they've already committed before that, just like I'm sure MSU will get some kids from the first couple weekends to commit and not take their last ones. That's how it
Sure.
goes. But yeah, so good amount of people showing up this weekend. They also have a big recruiting weekend on the third weekend. A lot of coaches across the country kind of have the logic. I don't necessarily know where it's stemming from, but I've seen it written from multiple reporters and multiple sites that kids will not be like taking the fourth visits. They're kind of thinking that it's going to be 3 visits and then
Okay.
cancel the fourth. Some only have 3 booked. I don't know if this is because kids are kind of looking to commit sooner because classes are smaller because the portal's taking a bigger precedent. But so Michigan State is also kind of subscribing to that notion. And Matt Zenitz, the national reporter for 24/7, wrote about how that's kind of the resounding sentiment. So because of that, the June 14th weekend actually has 14 kids coming there. And then the final weekend, they're still obviously hosting kids as they have 8 kids scheduled for there right now. But I'll be interested to see if that dynamic is true because, again, like I don't necessarily
Yeah.
know the premise of that other than the fact that kids might want to reserve spots sooner because they don't want someone from that fourth weekend taking their spot because of smaller classes because of the portal. But that's really all I can think of. And that's all that Matt had written in that piece. But that'll be interesting to see. But anyway,
That
what you
that is fascinating. Like, I wonder if that's like a psychological study of like ever since they took the cap of 5 official visits, where kids maybe felt like they had to take 5 officials to
right.
make it count. I don't. Maybe they just have realized that no, like 3 is a full plate. Like that's
Right.
all I'm gonna need. I don't. That's fascinating though. Obviously, the
Yeah.
transfer portal has something to do with it too. But wow, that's a nice little
Yeah.
nugget you got there.
And also like with the when the rule of the official visit cap of 5 was removed, one thing that I heard from like parents and high school coaches and even people in the industry is they said, yeah, sure, the amount of visits that kids can take might be uncapped, but the amount of weekends that they have in their lives are
Right.
still capped. A
Right.
lot of these kids are doing track and spring sports in the earlier months where they can't kind of leave during school, even on the weekends. And then July is a dead period other than the last weekend. And then August is a dead period. So that cap going away was never going to be one of those things where suddenly kids are taking 12 official visits,
Mhm.
like some people are kind of fearing. But yeah, so kind of like you said, like naturally it's kind of dwindling because 3 is even a lot. And if there's 5 schools you're deciding between, it's a lot, and you could probably narrow it down to 3 before you're at 5. And I know the top 10s and top 8s and top 5s are always going to be there, but
Of
really
course.
who's slightly above the others. But yes, so diving into this weekend, we'll kind of start with the offensive line. Kind of I'll run through 2 guys and we can kind of discuss them and then go through the rest of the list. But Darius Afalava, he's 6'5". He is listed as an interior offensive lineman on 24/7. He is from Lehi, Utah, Skyridge High School there. He is originally from Hawaii, I believe. I don't remember necessarily how young he moved to Utah to play. I think he just moved there to play high school ball, but I could be mistaken on that. But born in
Gotcha.
Hawaii for sure. So he took one of those rare visits that was before this stretch that's about to start. He took a early May OV to UCLA. And then after this MSU trip, he'll be going to Utah and Washington as well. So those will be his 4 OVs that he's looking to take all in all. And then yeah, like obviously he's from the West Coast, from Utah, and he's taking an official there to Utah. So it's not going to be easy to pull him, but Michigan State has that background with Polynesians in general, dating all the way back to the 60s. And then you're also looking at Coach M's personal record, working with a lot of Polynesian recruits and players over the last decade or so. And then he can point to Talisi Fuaga first and foremost. And just even zooming out from the Polynesian angle, just his track record of developing guys anyway, just across the board. And he has another guy that he just brought with him from Oregon State, and Tanner Miller, who originally was pretty much unranked. So
Yeah.
he was a walk-on. So that's kind of gives you a flavor for kind of what selling points that they'll be hitting on, even though geography probably isn't going to be the strong suit there. Speaking of an offensive lineman where the geography is not going to be ideal,
Yep.
Houston Kayana Torres, all the way from Hawaii, still living in Hawaii.
Great job with that last name. No, I got to stop you. Hold on. We're not just going to let you bang out that last name and just act like that wasn't impressive. That was very well done. Because when I try, I think I add like 7 extra syllables to it. So great job on Houston Torres' name there. Of
Yeah.
course, left out
Well,
the part I'm
I'll wait
stumble
to see
across.
if somebody corrects me in the YouTube comments before I celebrate.
There's no
But
shot they would even know, right? You said with enough confidence where you got me sold. So
yeah,
well done, well done.
yeah. So yeah, Houston Kayana Torres, 6'3" from Honolulu, Hawaii. St. Louis High School, so same high school as Rustin, or is it Rustin Young or is it Kakai Burnett that he shares the Kikai Burnett?
Oh, you're putting me on the
One of
spot
those
here.
two.
That's a
One
good
of
one. Let
those
me look that
two.
up for you. Let me look that up for you.
Okay, yeah. So I'll keep talking while you do that. But
Yep.
so he again, like Darius Afalava, he actually also took a official visit in the spring, and he in April went to Arizona State for that. Again, like that's not very common at all. I don't know of any Midwest recruits that have done that, to be honest. But yeah, so then he will also be taking some OVs in June after this MSU visit this weekend, and that will be one trip to Nebraska and then one trip to Utah. And then similar kind of thing there. The geography is not in MSU's favor, but they're able to sell all the background from the Polynesian angle to simply just the draft record and stuff from Coach M. So two recruitments that I view very similarly there.
Rustin Young, by the way, is the guy that also went to St. Louis High School. So that's a dynamite connection right there. And like with the geography, with that is an incredibly long flight or stretch of flights. You probably connect through LAX or Seattle. That's neither here nor there. I don't think it's going to be a shock to those kids. Maybe they realize like how long of a flight that truly is on their way here. But man, just the fact they're even taking this visit,
right,
truly speaks like how serious they are about committing to Coach M, right? And like that enough right there says that okay, well, could they be on commit watch as soon as this week? We just talked about that kids might be wrapping up their official visit season somewhat
right.
soon. I don't know any inside information. I'm just saying, like, wow, to make that kind of a commitment to travel somewhere to go check out a coaching staff. That seems
Yeah.
pretty serious. I know it's kind of obvious, but yeah, I mean, for two really strong players too. I mean, Houston Torres. I mean, obviously you want a strong center in there. This is a room that needs some help. The whole offensive line needs some help, but also Darius Afalava, her rivals, top 250 player, number 22 overall offensive tackle, and number 1 player in the state of Utah. So that is some pretty big talent coming to East Lansing as far as numbers go. But yeah, just had that 2 cents in really quick.
Very insightful. And then also the point about these guys being West Coast guys, sure, that geographically might not help them, but that's why Michigan State has also been able to build relationships with them for the last couple, or I should say this staff when they were at Oregon State was able to build relationships with them. So whatever they lose in geography, they may gain in familiarity reaching back for at least a year, if not longer. Whereas some of the other guys we're going to talk about, like the next guy, Jaden Savory, the tight end from Orchard Lake St. Mary's, Michigan, he's not somebody that the staff would have had on their radar or a relationship with before they took the job here. So
correct.
Yeah. So kind of diving into Jaden. So just zooming back from the offensive line, just to the other offensive pieces visiting. Like I said, 6'6", tight end from Orchard Lake, Michigan, St. Mary's High School. For those that don't know, that's the high school that has the red turf. Have not made it out there yet, but I think this season with enough of the targets from MSU, because Charles White, the linebacker commit, who was the first commit of MSU's class, I believe, he also played
second.
for
Leo Hannon first, if over. Close enough. Close enough.
Yeah. So that'll definitely be a school worth going to because they'll have Charles White and then Jaden Savory, who we're talking about here. So a couple guys playing for the same high school team there. So I'll definitely make the trip out there and we'll report whatever I see when that watch them live. But yeah, so Michigan State already has one tight end commit in this class with Emmett Bork. So there's a race against time here between Jaden Savory and Tyler Kielmeyer, who's going to be visiting the following weekend for kind of who gets the final tight end spot. And from my understanding, they'll take whichever one wants to commit first and they view them on the same plane. Brian Wozniak, obviously the tight ends coach who has kind of that Midwest background. He was the guy on the staff that was most familiar with the Midwest when all these guys got here. He played at Wisconsin. I think he had a cup of tea in the NFL, at least a training camp or two. And then he is now here at Michigan State. So that's one place where you've seen a lot of Midwest offers go out early in the days, even kind of the first couple of days of the staff being here. And looks like he's going to land at least two of the guys that he really wanted from the onset. So, and then he's taken official visits. Savory is to Wisconsin, Kansas, Duke, and BYU. So interesting schools there, but
Yeah.
let's see. I guess if the kid has 4 more scheduled, I don't see him maybe canceling all 4 of them, but maybe he'll go to 2 of those, and Michigan State, who I think right now has a slight lead there. Maybe if they continue to cement their lead and he takes 2 more visits and those 2 schools don't unseat Michigan State, maybe he can cut the last 2 off and commit after 3. But he's somebody that I was thinking maybe might be an early commit candidate, and then he scheduled 5 whole official visits, and now I guess we'll see
Right.
if that's the case.
Go see the world, kid. That's what I'm talking about. BYU, Kansas, Wisconsin, and Duke. That's all over the map. So,
Yeah.
PT, can I throw you on the spot here really
Yes.
quick, just about tight end play? Because obviously, Emmett Bork, he is committed. All right, kid from Wisconsin, 6'6", 240. With Jaden Savory, how are they different tight ends? Are they both pass catching tight ends? Is one a blocker, one more of the pass catcher in layman's terms, or how do you see them right now? Is it too early to tell just on high school tape
I
alone?
think right now the Michigan State staff is kind of showing that they need people that are willing to do both, because that really is like I know like Jay Johnson said like the tight end is the MVP of the offense, but like when he
Mhm.
said it, it was mostly like a recruiting pitch. His background didn't show that that heavy volume in the pass game, but 2, it's because of how many different things he needed him to do in the run game and stuff like that. But a lot of it was just blocking. Like Tyler Hunt, like barely ever went out, caught any passes, like mostly just a blocking kind of a guy. A lot of the guys they recruited, like a Jack Nickel, kind of just blocking centric guys. But like Michigan State staff here with Brian Wozniak and Brian Lindgren, you can see kind of what they did with Luke Musgrave, and they needed him to have
Yeah.
a presence in the receiving game. Jack Velling, 8 touchdowns, and a lot of that is them scheming him open. So like it's guys that are able to run the routes that Brian Lindgren needs them to run. And as a result of that, obviously they need to be adept in the passing game. But then at the same time, a lot of Oregon State's run game success is kind of outside zone type of stuff
Right.
around the edges. And you need tight ends that can block. So when they say they need guys that are both, they're not just saying that because it sounds like a good thing to say that we want well-rounded tight ends. They really are a kind of a main key in both of the run and pass games. And Bork and Savory and also kind of Tyler Kielmeyer, they have all the skills. Now Wyatt Hook, he was the recruit that they signed out of the 2024 class. Most of his highlights, pretty much all of his highlights, were receiving highlights.
Okay.
I think that's mostly just because he was so dominant as a receiver that they put him kind of out in the flex a little bit, and they threw it to him in the slot. But his measurables and some of the toughness you saw from him show that he can be an adept blocker. He was so good as a receiver that they kind of didn't have him block a lot. So that'll be interesting. That's a little more projection oriented, but these guys in this class kind of have tape that shows them in both ways being skilled.
There you go. That's tight end talk, baby, with JT. That's what I'm talking about. So one more offensive guy, is that right?
Yes, that
There
is
we go.
correct. Yeah, Braylon Collier, he is a 6'1" receiver from Sandusky, Ohio, Perkins High School, so he gets to go to Cedar Point whenever he wants.
That's a good system. That's a good situation to be at. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, you'll catch Matt looking for houses on Zillow in Sandusky, Ohio, now that he understands this concept exists of you can live right there where Cedar Point is.
That's impossible just for the mind to comprehend. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so he has official visits scheduled to Iowa and Iowa State. He has a gap next weekend, though, after the Michigan State visit, so maybe he'll have 14 days or so to think about if he wants to take a second or third visit. I don't have any reason to believe that he's looking to cut it short and that he would commit on the spot, but I just found that interesting that he has the first weekend booked, the second weekend is not booked, and then the third and fourth are Iowa and Iowa State, respectively. So, yeah, he's one of those speedy receivers, and that is what MSU is going to be prioritizing very heavily in this class. Kind of the Nick Marsh types and kind of Jalen Brown, who they signed in last year's class. Those guys are more of the big body possession all around receivers. They don't have a lot of guys that are the speedy kind of guys. So that's where they're trying to replenish the kind of the cupboard this year around. So I would mostly expect them to just target speedy guys this year and then stagger it and maybe go with some big body guys next year. At least that's what the board is looking like right now. I'm sure they'll make an exception if they find some absolute hidden gem that's a big body receiver that they really are sold on. But that's the overall strategy right now. But that's the guys on the offense. So moving to defense here, Brad Fitzgibbon, he's a 6'4" defensive tackle from Chicago Marist High School. He is also taking official visits to Iowa and Kansas, and he's somebody that early on I thought might have been a candidate to commit before OV started. I think MSU had a decent sized lead, not like a runaway lead, but I think they still hold that lead going into these visits. So I don't know. We'll see. It's not unheard of for a kid to cancel 2 OVs and commit on the spot. But also, I think if he does take all 3 of these visits, I think Michigan State could probably still go ahead and come out with the commitment afterwards. I don't think Iowa and Kansas, which are great developmental programs, especially with trench play, and Lance Leipold is doing a phenomenal job there in Kansas, and especially with attracting some Michigan talent. But I think Michigan State has a decent amount of lead there, but we'll see if that holds up.
So hold
Go
on,
ahead.
I
Yes.
like this just throwing me off. Like my head's spinning. Like you're
Yes.
allowed to have interior defensive line recruits visit in June that like you think you can actually get to commit later on. Is that the strategy this staff is taking? Wow.
First time in years since we have seen such a concept.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I readjust my whole expectations now. All right, sorry. Yeah, just before you kept rolling, I just had to slow the train down and get everyone on the same page here. That
wait until 2 names from now, Matt, where I tell you that they're hosting a linebacker. Anyway,
what?
Micah Newton. Micah Newton is a 6'2" defensive lineman. Now he's listed as a defensive end on 24/7, but I believe he's a defensive tackle prospect for Michigan State. He's 250 pounds right now as a junior. I believe even he has gained like 10 pounds from that. So I believe he's going to be a defensive tackle. And right now, Michigan State is his only official visit. So speaking of gettable defensive linemen, he is kind of the poster child for that. He does have Power 4 offers from NC State. NC State has done a great job kind of down south being that school that always finds the hidden gems, and that's why they're kind of consistently top 25. And then Georgia Tech as well. He has 12 total offers, but those are the only 2 Power 4 offers. So this is probably like one of the more underrated guys in this class. Shades of kind of the early recruits that Jonathan Smith was getting at Oregon State when he built that up. So we'll see what he's thinking, but I think he's somebody that they could get to commit on this visit. He is from Newberry, Florida. So, Matt, Florida 3-star. That's all I need to hear. Sign me up.
That's a Michigan 4-star as far as I'm concerned. That's right. That's how this calculus goes. Let's go. So you're telling me the next guy we're talking about is a linebacker recruit?
Yes.
What, are you out of your mind? This isn't how we do things over here.
Yeah.
I got to relearn everything, man, because look, the linebacker recruiting last few years, it's been well documented, right? You got Jordan Hall, you got Quavian Carter. Those are pretty much the only 2 linebackers you got in the last 3 recruiting class under Mel Tucker. And I said, you know what? Weird, sure, but 2 linebacker system. I get it. Maybe they just don't use a lot of linebackers.
Yeah, backfill through the portal.
Backfill through the portal, but Joe Rossi kind of likes himself some 2 linebacker system, and my goodness gracious, does he love himself some linebacker recruiting? So I guess the excuse I was making for the last staff, kind of nonsense here, JT.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mr. Gompers, which I gotta say this is the best name of the whole month of June, as far as I'm concerned. Bradley Gompers, take it away on this guy.
Yeah.
God,
so
I need that.
if I recall correctly, I think this was one of Rossi's first offers at Michigan State when he got here. I think a lot of it stems from the fact that he is from Rossi's alma mater at Pittsburgh Catholic Central.
Fun fact. Nice.
Yeah. So he is right from that area that Rossi knows well. Rossi, when he went out on the road, obviously the first thing he did was he made the rounds in state, but the second that Rossi left the state in a recruiting capacity, he went right back to Pittsburgh Central Catholic, and he went ahead and offered Bradley Gompers, then offered a couple other guys, and met with all the coaches that he always makes the rounds with when he's back in Pennsylvania. But yeah, 6'3" linebacker, as I'm saying again for the 3rd time, Pittsburgh Central Catholic. That is where one of the linebackers I like from last year's class, whose name is escaping me, who went to Michigan. I was a big fan of his when Michigan State hosted him on a visit, and I knew at the time that Michigan led, and I think he was ranked in like the 600s. He ended up being a 4-star, but he was ranked in the 600s. And I said at that moment, I said on the Spartan Tailgate message board, I said, he is better than Jeremiah Beasley, who Jeremiah Beasley was a 4-star at that time, whereas this kid was 670 something. And Michigan fans went ahead and were like, "Oh, he's coping because like this was right around the time that Jeremiah Beasley was like not going ahead and pulling the trigger on all his
Yeah.
MSU crystal balls, and it was starting to delay." And I was like, "No, Cole Sullivan's his name," and he's like, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. There's no way this kid in the 600s is good. Well, Matt, Jeremiah Beasley has already transferred out of Michigan, and Cole Sullivan is now
Right.
the 4-star kid that was ranked higher than Beasley. I have not heard anybody come back and say, hey, you were right. But anyway, that is neither here or nor there. Just wanted to establish the fact that, other than the fact that I knew that that was not the correct reflection of the two talents of the respective kids, I wanted to say that Pittsburgh Central Catholic is known for kind of producing these kind of guys on defense. I believe they had a linebacker a couple of years ago that also went to Notre Dame.
Gotcha. Wow.
Don't remember his name, but yeah, so good pedigree there. One of the better schools in the WPIAL belt. So we're looking at an October 21st visit that he took to Michigan State under the previous regime. So that was the Michigan game, I believe. And then also a March 30th visit earlier this spring, a couple months ago. Obviously, that was under the new staff. So 2 visits before, and this will be his 3rd visit. He has over a dozen offers right now, including most of the Big Ten. He actually texted me and told me that I was missing another few couple offers because I was the one that went ahead and added a good amount of his offers to his profile today. Not sure why he's still unranked. He definitely has the offers to be ranked, so I'll have to kind of push that up the chain and kind of point out that he's been missed. So they also, he also has offers from Cincinnati, UNLV, Ohio, and Minnesota, in addition to the ones you see on his profile. So up to 16 offers. I think he's kind of a prototypical linebacker. Kind of plays like Brady Pretzloff. I think he's a little lighter, more so of a coverage kind of guy, but generally just a multi-dimensional, do-it-all kind of linebacker, not just a run-first guy like a Cal Halliday or a mostly coverage guy that's a converted safety or anything like that.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And if you want me to just take it away here for the last 2 guys here, both cornerbacks, I know that you've done a lot of talking, so I'll give your vocal cords a rest here. But hey, Rivals 4-star LaRue Zamorano, he was actually on campus in late April for the spring game over that weekend. Out of California, though, Corona Centennial. Also, he will be visiting USC, Washington, and Kansas. And like I said, top 500 player. Rivals has him as high as top 250, actually. So the fine folks over there are really high on this kid. And I believe a top 25 cornerback in this class. So George Mullins, coming from the Sunshine State, supposed to visit this weekend as you write in your notes, but he is rescheduled for June 21st. But JT, at the end of all that, I counted 9 kids right there, 8 different states represented here. And that's including George Mullins too in that 9 count. So look, it's been a good start for Michigan State as far as regional. All right, they have 5 kids in the class right now. 1 is, of course, from California, 3 in Michigan, 1 in Wisconsin. But in this first opening weekend, you're kind of all over the map here. I think you have every single time zone in the United States covered for, from East Coast all the way to Hawaii time. Like that's not bad. You have your Utahs, you have your Californias, you have your Chicagos. So it's a wide net, and it is a national search. It's safe to say. So that's how the early days of the recruiting are going to be going here. So what we got here
will be very exciting. It's going to be good to get back in the swing of things. I know May is probably the second most dead from a recruiting content standpoint behind August, because nobody is ever going to commit in May when they can just commit after OVs in June. Also, there's not going to be a lot of meaning in terms of where schools stand or reporting on like who's a leader for a kid in May when it could drastically change the second they take one OV in June. So nothing meaningful can really be gleaned from the month of May. So it'll be good that one of the most meaningful times of the recruiting year is soon to start right here. But anything else you want to touch on recruiting, Matt, before we kind of close?
I got a question.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I got a question for you.
Yes.
By we'll call it next Monday at 8 p.m. So like next Monday night, whatever that is, June 3rd, I believe. Over under 1.5 commits for Michigan State. More commits. I'm not saying before decommit. I'm saying like added onto this year's.
Yeah. I think 1.5 is a good spot to set that line.
Hey, thanks.
So that's what makes it tricky, as you know, that is what makes over under lines tricky. But
that's true. I've learned that the
Ah,
hard way on FanDuel many a times. That's right.
the only thing is I don't know which kids are most likely to cancel their visits.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
since like all the kids have other visits, I would just probably go with under and I'd say one and I'd say Micah Newton just because that's like the boring
Okay.
answer of me not needing to speculate on who's going to have a visit that they cancel. So he's
Yeah.
the guy with no other visits and I guess we'll just go ahead and say an answer of one. But I also don't have any reason to believe that maybe Newton does go ahead and commit. Maybe he wants to schedule other visits, or maybe he's just going to be weirdly slow about the process and will take OVs in the fall and commit after. But
Gotcha.
let's just say one. But I wouldn't be surprised if somebody out of these eight or nine, out of these nine cancels and has, I guess, a spur of the moment commitment
Yeah.
that I can't foresee.
Heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
JT guaranteeing a commit by Monday night. You can set your watch to it. Look at this man just delivering the goods here. No, that's everything. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
mean, that's a solid start though for Michigan State here. I mean, that's just pretty
Yeah.
much all I got to say. You know, it's going
Yeah.
to be a different process than what we've seen. Less star power, of course, and there's always going to be a need for stars in classes. Let's not get it twisted, but more organized. I mean, hopefully that this is a staff that knows better where they sit with kids. I think that is reflected with
Mm-hmm.
the visit list right now. Like, I will never knock Mel Tucker. I will never knock them for what they did of having as many 4 and 5 stars as they
Right.
did. That was the time to strike, especially after that Peach Bowl season. My goodness gracious, like, take advantage of that opportunity,
Right.
but also know truly where you stand with each kid. Don't just think that you are the number one kid or the number one
Right.
program or number two program the entire time. And then all of a sudden, wait, why are we in fifth place all of a sudden? Like, I think that
Or
the staff knows where they are going
yeah.
to be with each kid.
Or you can be kind of delusional and not know where you sit, but then make sure you have an extensive recruiting board to pivot to for September, October, and November.
Yep.
Which is really pretty much my main and only criticism when it comes to recruiting under the Mel Tucker era was I didn't have any issues with the cars and the goats. I didn't have any issues with who they
Yeah,
hosted
no,
in June. I don't
same.
have any issues with the level of talent they landed was pretty good. It's the depth in the classes and the fact that they didn't have anybody to recruit in the fall the last couple of years. Well, last year was a little different because he wasn't even here after early September, but the
Yeah,
same thing was about to happen. If he was here, they didn't have a recruiting board really for that stretch. I know
right.
the new staff that he hired, like Mark Dethorne and Lino Lupinetti and those guys, I think they were putting together a very extensive board, but it wasn't still what it should have been. Those guys were going to have to work miracles by themselves to kind of
Yeah,
replenish the board. But the year before that, they had nobody after that. So yeah, I think you summed it up very well. It's you can have all the talent you want show up, and also you can even be a little delusional about where you stand with them, but you better have a backup plan after you maybe
right.
don't get some of them.
Yeah, and like, you know what? Let's do benefit of the doubt. Let's say that, hey, recruiting, it's a wild world out there.
Right.
Let's say that they are being strung along, being spoon-fed lies by these kids or the camps of these kids, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you were close or not close, you still need a plan B in life. That
Yes.
goes for a lot of things in life too.
Right.
Just like it's always nice to have car insurance on your car. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's just nice to have an insurance piece there.
Right.
And my goodness gracious, when they're sitting around the Thanksgiving table and they're wondering, well, why the hell do we have 9 kids in our class and who else is still out there? Yeah, that's what like June is for, making those
Right.
relationships kind of there.
Yeah.
So again, not to completely rail on the last staff yet again, but as you know, June comes along, what will
Yeah.
be the differences between this staff and the last staff?
Mm-hmm.
Organization and just like realistically, like who they believe they can get
Yeah.
right now. So that's
And I
how
think
I
if
see it.
somehow magically they missed on like most of the kids that are visiting in June, which I don't see happening because they've set it in a very 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 sustainable and feasible way to get a lot of these quits. But magically, if that were to have happened, I would have total confidence right now that July, which is the chance to at least develop the backup plan board, that these guys would offer like 75 kids in
Right.
July and they would
Yeah.
easily replenish it and have a total deck of kids to host in-game visits in September, October, and November. So that's one thing is these guys will always find the guys. We'll see how many maybe top tier guys they can land and we'll see how many games they win and all that. But I think these guys can find guys with the best of them for sure.
They've proven it over in
Yeah,
Corvallis, and hey, you know what? Let's see if they can do it here in East Lansing. I,
for
for one,
sure.
am pretty hopeful of it. So that's where
Yeah.
I kind of net out with it. So, yeah.
Matt, speaking of building up programs, NCAA, or I should
Yes.
say EA College Football 2025. The
Yes.
embargoes were lifted today from the national reporters and content creators that were allowed to go to Orlando to EA
Yeah.
Studios and take in the game.
Yeah.
Some amazing content was kind of put out. I know the Cover 3 podcast with Bud Elliott and those guys, they did a great segment that was very all encompassing, and that Matt Brown Extra Points newsletter, and forgot the gentleman's name who I retweeted today, but just some great stuff. What are you looking to do, Matt, the second that you download the game? What is
I'll
the
tell you.
first thing that
I'll
you're
tell
going
you.
to do?
So back in middle school, this was Madden, so this is not NCAA football, but the
Okay.
point remains is that sometimes I would go home, 15-minute quarters,
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta Falcons against a European football team. I would see how many rushing yards I can get with Mike Vick in a single game. Whenever I was on defense, I'd make sure they go 3 and out. I would return the punt back to my own 1-yard line to give Mike Vick 99 yards of field to work with. It stopped counting. The game itself broke. It stopped counting after like 878 rushing yards, and that was only in the second quarter. So, JT, to circle back and answer your question, hey, I know a dual threat quarterback that I would love to play with one day. I can think of some programs that I would just absolutely defecate on. Central Michigan, looking at you. We are turning on 15-minute quarters, freshman difficulty level, or whatever they're going to call it. And Aiden Childs is going to run rampant on you people. So that's what I'm looking forward to. JT, Connor Stallings on the sidelines. He can get a full view at 5,687 rushing yards from one Aiden Childs. So, look, I know you wanted me to say like Dynasty mode or like, Road to Glory or something like that, but no. Get me all offline play. Just give me a controller and 5 hours of free time to run up the rushing yards with Aiden Childs. So, how about you, JT? Do you got a more normal answer than that, or where
Yeah, I'm probably going to create a coach
right.
at Toledo, and then I'm going to try to see if I can get a Big Ten job, maybe like Illinois or something.
No. You start at Toledo, but see if you can just do the Jason Candle and just stay there for like 30 years. Like just enjoy life, at the Glass Bowl.
Yeah, and still be like just 36 years old after all that, or 39.
Yeah, right. Just live a fine. Like, that'd be a great way to play NCAA football 2025. Just like don't go for glory. Don't try to dethrone Nick Saban or anything. Just try to make a nice life for yourself in the Midwest at a nice MAC school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice, sensible way to play.
That's on my FIFA manager motors right now. Just
Nice.
managing Monaco. Just back-to-back second place finishes behind PSG. Loving life.
Nice. Quaint little life over there. I like that.
Yeah.
So, no, that's strong, man. I like that. But no, they did give a shout out on the Cover 3 pod, I believe it was. They gave a shout out to Aiden Childs and that he was fun to play with. That's not really breaking any, ground there because
hey, I thought it was a great tidbit as I thought it was a great tidbit as I'm the one that screen recorded that and tweeted that from the Spartan Tailgate site. So please, by all means, think that it's a great tidbit.
Dude, it is a fantastic tidbit. But dual threat quarterback's always just fun to play with. So that's gonna be great. But other players like on Michigan State, I'm so excited to just have Nick Marsh run 9 routes until his legs fall off. Like that's gonna be a great time. Jump balls for days. Once I'm done doing the whole rushing yards with Aiden Childs gimmick, I'll start to pour it on with one Nick Marsh. So can't wait.
Cannot wait.
Oh, God, I got a bachelor party that same weekend too. That's gonna be.
Oh, you know what you need to do? You need to go ahead and get the deluxe edition bundle that gets you the game 3 days early, so you can play it for 3-4 days before you take off.
That's on my wedding anniversary too. I'm about to be the biggest deadbeat scumbag father and husband that this world has ever seen that week when the game comes out, and then leaving to go just drink 1 million beers up North Michigan, and then come back and keep playing the game. That's gonna be great. I'll see my kids when they graduate from high school. I'm sure we'll circle back and we'll catch up on what we've lost.
You have the rest of your life with these kids. You don't have. I mean, I guess you could have the rest of your life with this exact game too, but you get my point. I don't know if I get the point.
Kids been driving me crazy lately, so I don't know. We'll see. This game might be in the lead here. I don't know. Who's to say?
Yeah. Hey, the kid might be fun, but you can't rebuild a burning program from the ashes just playing with the kid. You can only do that in EA College Football 2025.
See, you got it. You got it. You understand it. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, JT. Bang.
That UTSA Dynasty mode where you are pretending that you are Jeff Traylor. Nothing beats that, Matt. Nothing beats that. That GJ Kinney rise that you're trying to emulate in the game from is he at Texas State? Wherever he is. That
sounds
doesn't
right.
happen in real life.
Here we go, man. Oh, looking forward to it.
Yep.
Looking forward to it. I
With
need to like
that,
program my kids to
go ahead.
like instead. No, I'm just rambling. This is so stupid. It doesn't
Go
even
ahead.
make sense. But like, there you were. The credits were starting to roll, and then I gotta say, no, I gotta like program my kids to like want to watch dad play a video game instead of like watch Bluey or something like that.
Oh, I know what you got to do, Matt. You got to hand them
Surely that'll
a
be easy.
controller from like a old console, like
Ooh,
hand them a PS2 controller while you're playing, and then they'll mash buttons and think they're also playing.
I actually might try that.
Oh, it works. I've done so in the past. That
And they
works.
still might be able to beat me even with a disconnected controller because here's the gag and all this. Like I am horrendous at every video game I play. Every single video game I play. So except Mario Super Strikers, you guys can catch these hands on that game. So anyway, that's
Yeah,
for
the
GameCube people.
only 3 games I'm good at are college football, which
Okay.
back then I used to play on Heisman, and I still used to like win by like 30, which
Wow.
was very disappointing.
Wow.
And then I Madden, and then FIFA. But then like every other game, I'm horrendous at it. Like 2K, I'm good at offline, but then suddenly you play online, and then there's
Oh,
like a
dude,
glitch
right.
with like the shot meter, and then I don't
Yeah,
know, and then
man.
all the shooting games, I'm horrendous. Like my
Yeah.
Call of Duty kill death ratio is like maybe a neutral of like 1 in a good year.
Good for
So
you. Mine
just
was
horrendous.
in college 0.71. And like I'm
Yeah.
playing with a bunch of guys that are like my roommate's KD was higher than his GPA, and that's not me trying to be funny. That is an honest to God fact. Yeah, he was sick though. But yeah, no, I just made it incredibly awkward. It was my time to play because I just got murked upon, and that is what will happen if I even try online mode for NCAA football 2025. So can't do it.
Yeah,
Can't do it.
well, that's a shame because we'll be in that online dynasty, and then your program, I'm gonna have to beat them by 30 or 40. Rub it in,
Oh
maybe
my
a
God.
72-10 kind of thing. Just really motivate you into getting better at the game.
I am gonna make Chris Ash's Rutgers tenure look like it was Saban at Alabama in comparison. Like that, it's gonna look gnarly if I hop on a dynasty with other people.
I'm so glad that you took 72-10 and directly equated it to the exact Rutgers that I was hoping that it would equate to.
I do like. Oh boy, as bad as things may seem sometimes, and this goes beyond even Michigan State fandom, just in any sport fandom, it cannot be that bad. It can't be
Yeah.
that bad. Yeah. So on that
And,
note,
well, actually, man, you know what's even worse than that is I don't know if you saw today the Mets reliever today. He
he's a fan favorite. It seems like, yeah,
he
giving away souvenirs. Yeah.
yeah, threw his glove into the stands, and then they asked him about it, and he goes, "I'm playing on the worst team in the entire Major League Baseball." I think that is the epitome of things being at rock bottom. Is when your own
Yeah,
players, especially guys that are not particularly good, are embarrassed
yeah,
to put on your uniform.
yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, that was a hilarious interview. Watching right before we started recording, he was like, "They can do whatever they want with me. I'll show up tomorrow if they want me to." It's like I'm not sure if that's going to be the outcome that
Yeah, no,
comes through this.
they have designated him for assignment. So, yeah,
Already? Yeah,
yes, yeah.
that sounds about right. Okay, that's probably best for all parties involved. Oh
All
man.
right, now with that, we appreciate everyone for tuning in.
Wait,
Oh, go ahead.
what emoji are people leaving below? Come on, for the
Um,
sickos out there that have spent the last few minutes listening to our general riffraff. Let's see what is out there. You know what? I got one. How about
yes,
this one? You ready for this one?
yes.
This is in honor of the mascot games back in the day. I
Okay.
was always the Syracuse Orange, like many people were.
Mm,
Go ahead and comment the orange emoji below if you're a sick enough person to watch this late into the show.
yes,
You've
yes,
won the SD4L Fan of the Week. That gets you
yes.
absolutely nothing except we'll give you a like on YouTube.
I don't know, Matt, if you have seen this show. You have not because this was out when you were younger.
Yeah,
But
good luck.
the Looney Tunes show remake from 2012. One of my favorite lines from that show was Bugs Bunny is at a doctor's office, and then he sees the doctor's diploma hanging in the wall, and he scurries up to it, and he looks at it, and he goes, Syracuse? That's a basketball school. And then he walks out. He doesn't even get the consultation from the doctor. He's just beyond offended that a Syracuse guy was going to be his doctor. But
It's great
it's,
writing.
yeah,
Great writing.
it's that show, probably the funniest show I've ever seen that
Okay.
is made for kids that I've ever seen. And it's not even close.
Orange emoji and rabbit emoji
Yes.
next together. for the True Sicko
Yes.
SE4L listener of the week.
If somebody really wants to check out the best episode of that show and get into it, which I hope you do right after this, you watch this, look up
Okay.
the episode where Bugs gets stuck in an Albanian prison and Daffy accidentally joins the Marines just in search for free housing because there was a miscommunication that he thought he was going to get kicked out of Bugs's house. So he ends up in the Marines and a year later runs into Bugs in Albania and rescues him from a prison. So amazing show. That just gives you a little peek behind the curtain.
That is A+ writing. That's good writing. Okay.
Yeah. So definitely go check that out. All these free advertisements, Matt, the college football game, the Looney Tunes show from 2012.
We are shills, JT. Yep. Shills, let me tell you.
Unpaid shills.
Yep. The best kind.
All right. Yep. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and go ahead, leave those comments down below, and we'll see you guys next week.